Sikadoran's been getting dunked on for most of the league reveals, and with this newest one, even spirit trees and the grand tree look lame. Cause it's skill trees. I mean, Combat Masteries. Man, tree jokes, am I right? That was pretty good. All you arborists out there, leave a comment below. What's your favorite kind of tree in RuneScape? And for all the normal people that came here to talk about leagues, let's go ahead and do that. Let's talk about these Combat Masteries, huh? Now, before we actually start going over these and reading them, hey, don't look at that yet. We first need to actually go over to Discord. I'm not plugging my Discord or anything, but I am plugging the official Jagex Leagues 5 Discord because they actually post frequently asked questions to give way more details for these relics, and in the last video I didn't know about that until after I posted, but I know better now. Now obviously this will all make a lot more sense once we actually go through the thing, but some of these are good to know right now. Like Combat Masteries are available from the league start, from the very beginning. You can go ahead and start using these Combat Masteries. That is massive. You don't have to wait till tier 4 like previous leagues. Hopefully you've had some time to look over this while I've been talking. I'm gonna code away and go to the main page, and then we'll cross-reference this other thing whenever it's relevant. Combat Mastery. Spend combat mastery points to unlock powerful, style-focused combat. What does that mean? Well, if you look down, you can see unlock combat mastery points by completing the following tasks. Defeat a giant. Defeat 10 monsters with a combat level 100 or over. Defeat Scarius by yourself. Defeat a monster with a Slayer requirement of plus 55. Defeat Jad in the Fight Caves. Reach combat level of 100. Defeat an Echo Boss. Defeat 2 unique Echo Bosses. Defeat 3 unique Echo Bosses. Defeat Zuck. Back to the Discord page, the combat tasks like kill Jad, kill Giant, etc., the things we just read, can be done in any order to get the masteries. You can skip around. So that is incredibly useful. If you're feeling a little crazy, you don't have to kill Zuck last, or all you Valimore gamers out there, dare I say, you might want to do Zuck first. That Echo Soul seems like he's gonna be pretty tough. You may have pieced this together already, but there are 10 different ways to unlock combat mastery points, but there's only 6 tiers. What's up with that? You get bonus ones. It's really that simple. And in my opinion, the best part about this is not the bonus ones, it's that because it only goes up to 6 and there's 10 of them, the 4 hardest ones to do you can leave out for a while, which are probably going to be defeat an Echo Boss, defeat 2 Echo Bosses, defeat 3 Echo Boxes, and defeat Zuck. You can rush your combat style before you do any of those. To get an idea how strong that is, take a peek at tier 6, something like Ranged has never miss with a range, which dare I say is probably a pretty nice power spike. Another very, very important thing to point out, masteries are permanent choices. You cannot change them. That's the cool thing about having 10, is that you have some extras you can play around and get like a perfect combo, but you can't re-roll any of this stuff. This is like the whole point of Trailblazer. Like why we didn't go back to Shattered Echoes is because at Shattered Echoes, you have to keep going to the bank and changing your loadout depending on this or that. And like, I'm sure you played games with skill trees where you have to keep re-rolling them all the time depending on your task and optimizing this and that. And I'm sure they don't want to have that. So you do actually have to think about this a little more, and you don't have as much time to think about it is the big thing, because it starts right off the bat. You can still have some level of confidence in progressing through your tier system because of the passives. These I think are actually super, super cool. To get each passive tier, that tier must be unlocked, but passive effects work for all styles. So the 95% chance to save ammunition or runes, that's still going to be applied to you even if you're going for melee. Something that's really cool about these different passives is they actually look like they're going to be able to stack with some of the tiers as well. So an example I'll go over is passive tier 2. Healing from all sources is increased by 20%, and then tier 4 of melee hits have a 5% chance to heal 40% of damage dealt. So even if you initially got into that tier 2 with something that wasn't melee, you're still going to be able to get some of these other effects going and combine a lot of these things. For the people that played last league, I think it might be interesting to look at that and try to get a frame of reference for how quickly you're going to get strong and what you can kind of expect from your character. There's a lot to look at here, so I'm just going to pick melee as an example and go through it. Now, the easiest way to get a point, I obviously think, is to go kill a giant. So, not literally at the beginning of the game, but once you're able to kill the giant, you're going to unlock your passive tier 1, which is saving charges, which probably is not going to be a thing for melee, right at tier 1. And your melee hits have a 25% chance to roll damage twice and take the highest result. The passive is basically directly comparable to Brawler's Resolve. It used to be 90% of charges, now it's 95. And then the tier 1 effect is more of like a bonus, smaller damage buff that you get right here. Passive tier 2, healing from all sources is increased by 20%. This actually was not in last year's at all, though you were immune to all status effects before and now you're not. And then the tier 2 effect, melee hits have a 10% chance to generate an echo hit. What's an echo hit? An echo hit is an additional melee hit. 50% of your max hit, respects accuracy, and is only for PVM. Last year's Brawler's Resolve, on successful hits, you had a 10% chance to deal double damage. So we went from double to a 1.5, but we're only on tier 2. Tier 3's passive accuracy with all styles is increased by 100%. Last year, melee accuracy was increased by 50%. At tier 3, melee attack rate set to 80%, rounding down. What does that mean? For those of you a little confused, let's skip ahead to tier 5. Melee attack rate set to 50%, rounded down above 5 tick, rounded up below 4 tick. That probably sounds a lot more familiar. That is more of what Brawler's Resolve went for last time. And I'll just read off of that. Melee weapons with an attack speed above 4, which is 2.4 seconds, will be halved, rounded down. Attack speed below 3, 1.8 seconds, will be halved, rounded up. Now back to tier 3. Basically, this just means you can get a faster weapon a little bit sooner, depending on what your weapon is, of course. So for example, a 5-tick weapon now becomes a 4-tick, a 4-tick now becomes a 3-tick. Well, 3.2, but it's rounded down. Now let's go to tier 4. Damage taken is reduced by 15%. That's not the direction they went last year. What they did instead was melee, ranged, and magic defense were increased by 50%. And then at tier 4, melee hits have a 5% chance to heal 40% of damage dealt, which is not on here at all, but there was a relic called Soul Stealer last time that had a sort of healing effect as well. Passive tier 5, prayer point gain from all sources is increased by 25%. That's just a completely new and cool thing. And then I'll do the actual math for this tier 5. So it's 50% rounded down above 5 tick and rounded up below 4 tick. How does that compare to 4 and 3? Well, last year, a 5 tick would turn into a 2.5, and then that would be rounded up. A 4 tick would be a flat 2, and a 3 tick would be a 1.5, rounded up to 2. And then the wording for this year's is throwing me off a little bit because it's different. If we look at the Discord, they actually say that 50% attack speed reduction for 5 tick is rounded down, i.e. 5 tick to 2 tick. And that is kind of what it's saying here, rounded up below 4, rounded down above 5, but like, that's not how they worded it in the last one. My first instinct was to do the math first, so 5, half of that, 2.5. Oh, 2.5 is lower than 4, so now it's a 3, but that's not how it works, according to the Discord. So a 5 is a 2, a 4 is a 2, and a 3 is a 2. And now it's time for the crazy stuff. Passive tier 6, attacks with all styles, now has 60% prayer penetration. What does this mean? You're going to be able to fight Nex real good now, or KQ, or I think Echo bosses are gonna have prayers. That's kind of what people are speculating on. That makes sense to me. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. That doesn't sound crazy. I don't think it's just for like Hunlif, but that could be fun too. I mean, we'll just have to see. Another reason I say that is because it's kind of inconsistent in the game if a boss actually has a prayer or if they transform and then they gain a ton of like defense in one style or another. So I definitely think this is really strong and you're going to get it no matter what. I wonder exactly where it's going to be useful, or if it's like very intentionally designed for like echo bosses. And then I can just go ahead and tell you, the 3 from last year, they did not have anything like these tier 6s. Okay. Your chance to generate a melee echo increases to 20% from 10, and your echoes can generate additional echoes up to 8 times in a row. And we of course have an icon of the scythe because you're going to be able to get a bunch of splats. You know, potentially. Up to 8 times in a row, potentially. So what does all this mean? What's going on in the future? I think they've already said that they're only doing one combat relic tier, or at least that's what people have been speculating on. I don't think this counts as a combat relic tier though. Like, this isn't relics, you get it right off the bat. So there might still be at the end one big bad final crazy thing that you can combo in with things, like a guardian thrall you can summon, or a sage's axe you can throw to execute. But I'm not really sure. I just know that these look really fun. It's cool that there's something that you can actually like work towards that isn't just your normal tasks. Like you're progressing at the same time that you're progressing in other ways. That's really interesting. There's a multitude of things going on that you're juggling at once. They're really putting a bunch of layers into things where they're giving you like passive AFK skills, automatically getting you farming in magic while you're getting your Slayer up to go ahead and get another combat tier, and all the while you're doing tasks and points to get another region and another relic. Like, there's a lot of layers that they're adding onto this, which I don't think makes it feel super complicated. Like, I don't think it's like, oh no, I gotta make sure I'm doing this super optimally. It's more like you're always getting something done. I think it's actually the opposite. I think you're like, oh man, whenever I'm doing these tasks, I don't have to like string them out in such a crazy way anymore. If I want to go and just like fight some stuff for a little bit, now I can actually progress my stuff outside of just like a boss drop, which I think is really cool. And I think it'd be really cool if you guys dropped a subscription to the YouTube channel. I'm gonna keep posting these, so if you guys want to keep watching, that's a pretty good way to be able to keep doing it. There's a lot on this page, and I really basically have only thought about the melee one just because there's so many different things going on. There's a lot of not just figuring out your strengths and like your power points, but also what bosses some of these different combat styles will work best on, or which ones you really want to heal from or you really want the accuracy on. So I would love to hear from you guys your master plans, like your never miss with range. What boss is going to be amazing to do that at? Off the top of my head, fighting Phantom Muspa at that end little shield part, I hate that so much. Like, I miss my attacks all the time, so being able to never miss, that sounds like that would be crazy. I'm sure there's a billion different like, oh, this is really cool things. So again, if you guys think of them, I'll leave them below. I had someone tag me in a video that they made talking about some of my points. So if you guys want to do that, as long as they're not a billion minutes long, I'll watch through them. Like, I'm happy to go back and forth with conversation. And I think I'm about happy ending the video here. So thanks so much for watching, and until the next one, take care. Goodbye.